Hey, what's going on everybody? This is Jared here with another video. This one's going to be reviewing the Guns N' Roses concert in Hollywood, Florida on September 15th, 2023. Now, this was my fourth time seeing Guns N' Roses. The other three times I saw them were in Orlando in 2016, Miami 2017, Jacksonville in 2019, and this one was at the Hard Rock Casino and Hotel in Hollywood, like I said. I just wanted to give a little backstory on kind of like about this tour a little bit. You know, they've been touring with Slash and Duff back in the band since 2016, and there hasn't been a lot of stuff released as far as new music, and they've just been touring and touring and touring. I wanted to see them at this same exact venue back in 2021, but the tickets were extremely expensive. And there's just a lot going on in my life, just coming off the heels of a big life moment, and just kind of wasn't in the mood, but wanted to go, it just didn't happen. But this go round, I definitely wanted to do it, and it was a very emotional thing for me too, because I've been to almost every single concert with my dad, and unfortunately he passed away last year, and the last time I saw Guns N' Roses was in 2019 with my dad. So I made it a point to wear the Guns N' Roses Jacksonville 2019 shirt to this show, and I went with my mom. The tour has gone good so far. Axl has definitely had some vocal issues at times. Just as recently as like about a week or two ago, they pretty much had to cancel a show and reschedule it because of his vocal issues. Now, they say that it's because of his illness, and that's why he was struggling at numerous shows with his voice. And to me, honestly, this motherfucker, I feel like he gets sick so much, it's unbelievable. Now, he does travel a lot, but I just don't hear about someone getting as sick as much as I do Axl. I don't know if it's an excuse or if it's like legitimate, but I feel like every tour, there's something about him having an illness and it like affecting things. He's definitely had some vocal issues over the last few years. Like I know last year, I think it was London where he had some major issues, and like there are certain songs that he would have to sing in his like low baritone voice instead of, you know, his regular, you know, Mickey Mouse, or, you know, his high vocals, stuff like that. But yeah, I was a little worried about this show because of this reschedulation. I don't know if that's a fucking word, but it is now. But this show that was rescheduled like over a week ago, but they ended up playing the show after that, so that was good. And then I looked at some of the reviews by the fans on how Axl sounded, and they said, yeah, he sounds like 2023 Axl. One last thing I wanted to mention real quick before I start getting to the actual show is the main thing about this tour is that they released Perhaps, the single, and ever since they released the single Perhaps, they've been playing it at every single show, and that's definitely been the highlight of the whole tour pretty much for me. And I've been obsessed with the song. I did like a 30+ minute review of this song. It's been a lot of fun to be a GNR fan. One thing I was worried about also was the last show before this Hollywood show, they dropped it from the set list. And a lot of people were like, oh, I wonder if like this is officially dropped from the set list, or if it was just like a one-time thing. Because Axl does have his moments where he struggles on the song. It's a really tough song to sing live. There's not a lot of moments to take breaths and stuff like that. So going into the show, that was a big what if. Are they going to play Perhaps? In my head, if I had to bet money on it, I was thinking they probably would play it, because most of the time when they drop a song from the set list, they just bring it back the next show and then it gets played, you know, at every other show. It's not like a huge thing, luckily. So I was thinking they probably would play it. So anyway, we headed over there. And really easy venue to find. Like I said, never been here before. It was pretty much right off the highway, and you could just see the big guitar out in the distance. And parking was free. That was awesome. Glad to, you know, see that. That was a welcome surprise. They just had a big parking garage next to the venue. You could just park in it for free and just go right in. It kind of reminded me of like the Homestead Miami Speedway, going to that race last year. I just don't feel like you see free parking very often anymore. So that was a great start for sure. Um, Really nice looking place. Got the nice pool outside, and just getting to see everything up close was really cool. All the cars are filing in. Luckily, got to see GNR fans walking around, and knowing that you're in the right place, basically. So we headed into the venue, and it's not like you just walk right into Hard Rock Live. You have to it's a huge venue, so you have like kind of like a mall area, and then you have the actual like casino, and then you have Hard Rock Live connected to it. So we had to kind of look at a map and figure out where we were and how to get there. So going through the mall area was cool. It was very reminiscent to like a Las Vegas casino. Not that I've ever been there, but my girlfriend went there a few months ago, and she showed me a lot of pictures and videos and told me about it, and it really reminded me of that. Just got a lot of sports bars and restaurants and just stores and stuff like that. High ceilings, very well lit and everything like that. And then they had like an area where they had like a big waterfall. And then eventually you get to the casino. Now this is my first time ever in my life being in a casino, so that was a new experience, which was cool. Seeing all the slot machines and all the people gambling, and just the energy was just really electric. There's just so many people, and it was just really interesting to see. I'm glad that I got to have like a new experience that was just not even really related to the Guns N' Roses show in and of itself. My mom had never been to a casino either, so it was a new experience for her too. So we went ahead and got in line. I was thinking the merch would be outside the venue, but they told us that it was inside the venue. So we got there right before 6 o'clock, and the doors were supposed to open at 6, so we didn't have to wait in line long. I mean, we were in there for a few minutes, and then line started moving. Luckily, line moved super quickly, and we pretty much got right in, and then we speed walked over to the merchandise. And my tradition at any concert is to get the show t-shirt if available, and definitely wanted to do that. I have all of my show t-shirts for every Guns N' Roses concert I've been to. And speaking of show t-shirts, this is the Scorpions show t-shirt from the Amalie Arena last year when we went and saw Scorpions in Tampa. And this was the last concert I went to, so it had been literally 366 days since I've been to a concert. And I was excited. We were both excited. So went to the merchandise, and not only do I like to get the show t-shirt, but for Guns N' Roses they have lithographs. Now, if you're wondering what a lithograph is, because some people don't know. I mean, I didn't really fucking know until they started doing these for Guns N' Roses. But it's just a poster. They do like a special lithograph poster for every specific show, and before the show I actually saw what the show artwork was, so I figured that would be the lithograph, and sure enough it was. Now, as for the lithograph itself, I didn't particularly love it or care for it. It's not anything that seriously it's nothing that I seriously thought was like awesome or anything like that, but like I said, it's just the novelty of it and a tradition, and that's all that matters. I was glad that it at least had the show date on it and everything, and of course it just commemorates the show, and I like the colors on it and stuff. So the lithograph is also limited. They only have I believe 250, and I had like number 190 something out of those. Luckily, me and my mom worked together to like find the shortest part of the line. They just had like a big booth set up. It wasn't like anything super extravagant. It was just like pretty much a table, and then you just like a booth. And all these fans just gathered up there to check out the merchandise. Now, as for the rest of the merchandise, I didn't really care for anything else. I only really cared for the show t-shirt and the lithograph. So went ahead and got each of those. Now, each of them were $50, and I was a little surprised. I feel like that's probably pretty common practice for Guns N' Roses, but I don't know. I don't really think a t-shirt should be $50. I would think maybe, 35, 40 range, only because it's commemorating the show. A regular t-shirt I feel like should be like 30 at most, but it is what it is. When you're in these moments and having these life experiences, I don't really feel like you can like care about money that much. Kind of just have to live the moment and not worry about anything else, you know, not be stressed about the money and stuff like that. So yeah, my mom went ahead and got the same shirt that I did, and then we looked over and they actually had a couple more merchandise booths, which I was surprised about because, you know, the people were, you know, one of the people that we talked to that was working there was acting like there was only one booth. So we went over to the other booth and they actually had a little bit more of a selection. They actually had a Perhaps hoodie, which I thought was interesting. And they also had the tour poster. It was a tour lithograph, which I saw on the Guns N' Roses forum not too long ago, which was also $50, and it just commemorates, you know, all the dates that they played and everything for this North American tour. So I was like, well, shit, you know, honestly, I might as well get that too. So spent a pretty penny on merchandise for 3 things, but definitely well worth it. And yeah, then we went to the third merchandise booth. Now this one was way smaller and not a lot of people were there, but they just had like banners and just random miscellaneous shit. They had like another poster maybe, and just maybe like a blanket or some shit. I don't know, just like bigger things. And check that out. And then went ahead and headed up to our seats. Now, walking in was interesting. So we were up in the nosebleeds, which I think it's like a negative connotation, especially for like a venue like this. But we were up on the balcony, I'll say. And this is a very intimate venue. It only seats around 7,000 people. And every other Guns N' Roses concert I've been to was way bigger than this. Started at a stadium, and then we went to a baseball field, and then the third show was at an arena. So this one was pretty much in a theater. So it was much smaller, much more up close and personal. And as for the arena itself, I thought like the view, I could just tell from sitting down immediately, was good. I don't feel like there was a bad seat in the house. Honestly, you could have the last row up in the nosebleeds, and I think it would be great still. I would say as far as I feel like it was a little dated. It felt like, I don't know when this place was made, but it felt like it was made like many years ago. Not super updated and modern, I guess you could say. Yeah, we just kind of sat down, place started filing in. One thing that I was looking at was the tickets for the show on the actual day. I follow this guy, his name is like Vegas Reviews, and he says that, you know, he goes to a ton of shows, and he says that anytime he goes to a show, he always buys it on the day of the show because the ticket prices drop. And he said, you know, pretty much every show he's been to, there's always seats available. So we already got our tickets last month, but I still wanted to check that out just for future reference. And honestly, yeah, there were definitely tickets available, and the tickets were much cheaper than they were when we bought them. So it's definitely something to consider moving forward, not only for us, but for you as well. If you're interested in going to any show, it's definitely something I'm going to consider, especially for Aerosmith next month. That's going to be the next concert that I'm going to. 7 o'clock, the opening act went on. It was this band called The Warning. Now, it's a trio of Mexican girls, and I had never heard of them before, never seen them or anything like that. I didn't really know anything about them other than like I heard somebody on the Guns N' Roses forum saying that they were great. And yeah, they're sisters too. So they played 30 minutes, and I thought they were solid. I thought the lead singer had some real pipes, and I thought the drummer had some good vocals also, and they had some pretty decent songs, and they were definitely talented, and I thought they did a really good job. And I even made it a point after the show to look up one of their songs and add it to my Apple Music library, because there was definitely one song that definitely resonated with me. But I thought they did a really solid job, and it was also interesting because when I went and saw Scorpions at this concert, they had Thunder Mother before the show, which was another all-women band. So it was my second show in a row seeing an all-women band, and honestly, I'd have to say The Warning was better. And last thing I'll say about The Warning was I thought the drummer, her outfit, her style really reminded me of Klaus Meine from Scorpions, the lead singer. So they they hit the 30-minute mark, and pretty much exactly at the 30-minute mark they they left and everything. They were done. So then crowd kept on filing in, and they have the Guns N' Roses logo up on the screen, and some graphics and stuff. And like the closer it gets to the show, the graphics start to change more and more. I think it started out, it's like an engine, I believe, and when you first get there, the engine is like cold, and the closer it gets to showtime, it says like pressure warning, and it just gets hotter and hotter and hotter. And it really it is interesting, and it's fun to follow, because it's like it kind of just makes you anticipate the concert even more the more you see the graphic evolving. So that was cool. And then it was between 8:15 and 8:30, the lights went down and the show was starting. Now I'm gonna go through the set list and give some thoughts. Now they came out and opened with "It's So Easy," and this was something that I was thinking about, of course, during the way up there and before the show and everything. They have opened with "It's So Easy" at every single concert since 2016, and I have an issue with this. They seriously need to change this up. I loved it back in the day when they would open up with a different song every night. It seemed like they would like rotate between "Night Train," "Welcome to the Jungle," "It's So Easy," "Perfect Crime," "Right Next Door to Hell," "Pretty Tied Up." It was just, you never knew what song you were gonna get. And I just wish they would change it up, especially after touring for 7 years with this new band. So it's something you'll always expect at every single Guns N' Roses concert. But if you take all that aside, I think "It's So Easy" is a great opener. In general, I think it definitely needs to be in the rotation, but it shouldn't be every single night. So yeah, they came out and did "It's So Easy" as the first song. 2, "Bad Obsession." This is one that they added to the set list this year that they haven't played in a very long time. It's since the 90s. They used to play this regularly in the 90s. So this was awesome to see live. Never seen it live, obviously. And they did a good job on that. Then they bust into "Chinese Democracy." And I thought Axl struggled a little bit with this one. I remember I wanted to record, I definitely wanted to get footage of this concert for sure, video wise. And this was one that I recorded, and I actually fucked up, and like I wanted to record the solo, and I know Richard and Slash switch off on the solo, and I accidentally thought Richard started the solo and Slash finished it. So like when I was recording it, I started to zoom in on Richard, and then I had to quickly go over to Slash. But that's definitely one of my favorite songs from the set list, one of my favorite songs from the album, and glad they have continued to keep it in there. Then 4, "Slither," Velvet Revolver cover. This is one that is awesome that they play it. Don't get me wrong. So happy that they play it. It's really surreal that they play it. I just wish Axl sang the chorus differently. He does it in his Mickey Mouse voice, and he tries to make it his own, which is totally fine, and I get that, but it just doesn't sound good. I'm talking about the chorus. I mean, the rest of the song is fine, but I feel like it would suit Axl better if he just did it like Scott Weiland with like a baritone. 5, "Mr. Brownstone," got a video of this. This was awesome to see people really dancing to this song. This is definitely a dancer. And then they go into 6, "Hard School." Once again, never seen this song live. Really happy to see it live. And that 2021 show that I was talking about at the same place when they played with Wolfgang Van Halen, this song was the song that this and "Absurd" is what they released during that tour, and "Hard School" was actually released like really, it was only released like a week or two before that particular show. So when when I was thinking about going to that show, that was definitely one of the things that I was thinking about, was seeing Hard School live. I thought that they did better on it than I thought they would. I thought Axl sounded better on it than I thought they would. But it's interesting because I saw numerous other people say they thought Axl really struggled on this one. So that was interesting to me. I just disagreed. I thought Axl definitely sounded better than I thought he would on it. Let me just go to the next song. 7, Welcome to the Jungle with Link Wray's Rumble intro. Now, this was interesting because they've really slowed the tempo down on Welcome to the Jungle. And they've slowed the tempo down on a few different songs. And I know that Guns N' Roses fans definitely commented on that over the years, that, like, you know, this song would be better if they slowed it down. They need to slow this song down. And it definitely looks like they did start slowing some of these songs down to help Axl. Obviously a major crowd pleaser. And then they go into 8, Pretty Tied Up. This was another one that was a surprise add to the set list this year. Once again, never seen it live. So the main thing when it comes to like these Guns N' Roses shows is not only to see my favorite band of all time, but to see songs that I've never seen in person before. Because, yeah, I just want to know, like, when I die, that I've seen as many songs live from Guns N' Roses that I could. So Pretty Tied Up was great addition to the set list. I was a little worried they wouldn't play it because I know there was a show earlier in the tour that they didn't play. But once again, when they drop a song from a show, they normally bring it back. So they played it and I was happy. Now that leads me into number 9, Perhaps. They played it. So I was so happy. So was my mom. She really lost her shit when they started playing this song. Like I said, I figured they would play it, but I was still unsure. And I didn't know, but when I heard Frank like hitting his drumsticks together before the song started, just hearing that tempo, I was like, holy shit, this might be it. And sure enough, it was. And that was awesome. Got a clip of that. Axl is still trying to work this song out. Like, I wish he would just really like practice it, rehearse it, and just get it down to like what he's comfortable with. I just feel like every show is just like, it's just like a test run of like how they could play it differently or how Axl could approach it differently. So that's a little frustrating at times. But just the fact they played it was awesome. And it was technically a surprise because you just didn't know if they're going to play it. So that was awesome. They went into 10, Double Talk and Jive. You could kill Double Talk and Jive from the set list for me at this point. 11, You Could Be Mine. You Could Be Mine is interesting for me because, you know, I've always liked You Could Be Mine, but for whatever reason lately this year, I've been really getting into it, and it's really falling back in love with it again. And I got a video of that one as well. 12, Absurd. Like I said, Hard School and Absurd were the 2 songs released 2 years ago on that tour. So I had never seen Absurd live. I don't like this song, but I definitely had a memorable moment during this song. Literally, this guy was like walking his young daughter out in front of me right as Axl was yelling, "Pussy full of maggots." So that made me laugh. 13, Reckless Life. This is another one that is new to me. But they did add it to the set list last year. I thought it was disappointing that Slash doesn't do the "Hey fuckers, suck on Guns and fucking Roses" before they start this song. I feel like that should be a tradition. That'd be an awesome thing. Get Slash on the mic for 2 seconds and just have him say that. I saw them do it on YouTube on a show last year at some point, but it just never became like a routine thing, unfortunately. I think it'd just be a cool touch. Like, why not? Which also makes you remember, going back to Bad Obsession, they don't use the harmonica at all. Their other opening act on this tour, I forgot her name in the band, but they had her come and do a guest appearance on Bad Obsession to use her harmonica, which is awesome. They need to add a harmonica. I hate it when like they add some of these songs and they don't like go the extra mile on certain things. I think about like Dead Horse. In previous years, Axl didn't come out with his acoustic guitar and do the intro and the outro. It's just little stuff like that that I think is awesome, and they need to like just go the extra mile on. 14, Estranged. 15, Live and Let Die, Wings cover. 16, Down on the Farm, UK subs cover. Another one that they added to the set list this year, and one that I've obviously never seen live before, so that was cool to see. Don't really care for this song, and if they're gonna add songs to the set list, I would prefer original songs, not covers. But still, it really suits Axl's voice well nowadays, because this is another point that I wanted to make about this show. A lot of these songs are tailored to his baritone vocals, which makes sense, and I think his baritone vocals sound great. I mean, they sound pretty much as they did back in the day, and it just makes more sense to play more baritone vocal songs. So I'm glad that they're actually like working the set list kind of around that a little bit and doing some of these more of these baritone vocal songs. Now we're getting into the songs where I was like about to piss myself. I was like, really, and I'm being legitimate, like literal, like I had to pee so fucking bad. It was unbelievable. Now, normally when it comes to these shows, I will like, I don't know why, but I kind of like hold shit in like this because I don't want to miss a second of the show. But I was like, you know what, fuck this shit. I am thinking to myself, what would be the best piss break song? And I was like, Rocket Queen. So I was waiting for Rocket Queen because I was just uncomfortable at this point. And yeah, 17 was Rocket Queen. And it's funny because like, there are people in the Guns N' Roses forum that talk about like piss break songs. It was funny that I actually used Rocket Queen as a legitimate piss break song because it's going to be long, and they're going to be doing solos and different stuff like that. And one thing I'll say about the bathrooms at that place was couldn't believe they had fucking 4 urinals in the fucking bathroom. That was just mind-blowing to me. I mean, I know it's an up-close and personal venue and it's smaller and everything, but to have 4 urinals and all these people waiting in line was just mind-blowing. But I will say a positive, they had a speaker in the top of the bathroom, so you could hear the show perfectly fine. And one thing I wanted to add about Rocket Queen was I feel like Dizzy was more prominent in it. He had more piano during the instrumental bit, and Slash does his talk box solo and everything. They move on to 18, Anything Goes. Another one they added to the set list this year. I've never seen it live, obviously, and that was cool to see. Slash using his slide and everything. And I thought it was funny seeing Dizzy use like the scraper instrument. Dizzy Reed is important to Guns N' Roses, don't get me wrong, but it is funny sometimes to kind of just poke fun at like the useless aspect of him during a lot of these songs, like that one. 19, TDI, which is the Stooges cover with Duff on vocals. I've never seen this one live. I could care less. Another like piss break song. I was expecting more people to be walking out on this one. At least it wasn't Attitude. That's all I can really say about it. And also, I don't know. I kind of wish Duff would play like an actual solo song of his during this time, and not just. I mean, for his whole career with Guns N' Roses, he just always has a quick song where he sings a cover, and I don't particularly care for this cover. Kill this cover. Do a solo song. But it seemed like Slash was really into this one for whatever reason. I don't know, but all right. Biggest moment of the night for me. 20. There Was a Time. There Was a Time is my all-time favorite Guns N' Roses song. They rarely play it live. The most times they played it live in a year was 8 times. They played it a few times on this tour, but once again, rarely. I mean, they've only done it like, I think 5 or 6 times throughout this whole entire tour. And this was a moment that was really, really mind-blowing to me, surreal, and I really felt like my dad was there. It was a really touching moment. What are the chances? You know what I mean? Really emotional for my mom as well. and just couldn't believe they played it. Like right before they started it, I heard a little piano, and I was like, something told me, I was like, there's no way they're gonna play There Was a Time. Like, but I heard that little piano, and I was like, something triggered my mind to think they might play it, and they busted out into it, and I never thought I would see this song live, and I know there are some diehards that have been to like 100 Guns N' Roses shows and have never seen this song. Somebody on the forum told me it's like hitting the lottery, and it really is. Absolutely cannot believe they played There Was a Time. I thought Axl struggled on the verses, don't get me wrong, but his high note, right before the solo kicks in, I thought was fantastic. And I absolutely love that high note. Like, that's one of those things that I will still look up. If they play There Is a Time at a show, I will look at the performance because I want to hear that high note. And he nailed it. And yeah, the best moment of the whole night, something I will never forget for the rest of my life. 21, Civil War with Jimi Hendrix's Voodoo Child outro. This one was interesting because they really did a lot of dedication to Ukraine. Axl was wearing a Ukraine flag t-shirt, and they had a lot of Ukraine flags on the video boards and everything. So they're really pushing the Ukraine on that one. 22 Slash guitar solo preceded by band introductions. Axl really hypes up Slash, which I always love. This tour, it seems like he's really been doing the on the fucking guitar and just hyping up the crowd, and then Slash busts into a solo and everything. I thought this solo was very different than like what I can remember from a Slash solo before. And what I mean by that was it was very, very bluesy. Now some people probably like, are you fucking kidding me? Slash is, he's so bluesy. How have you never seen a Slash blues solo? All I'm saying is like, I feel like normally for these Guns N' Roses concerts, he just rips and shreds and like just does whatever he wants, but it's not like specifically blues oriented. I think they did like a blues jam is kind of what I'm trying to say. Kind of reminds me of like the blues jam they did at like Argentina in 1992 when Axl was probably losing his shit backstage like after like the second or third song. But it bust out in the Sweet Child of Mine next. Of course the crowd goes crazy. Always. It's funny because it's like, I feel like most diehards would know like that he always busts into Sweet Child of Mine after his solo, and a lot of these casual fans like probably don't know, so they're like surprised and they just lose their shit. So I would say so like right at the end of Sweet Child of Mine, they immediately like wheel out the November Rain piano, which is interesting because like they didn't even finish Sweet Child of Mine yet before they bust out the piano. They're like, it seems like they're really trying to just like transition quicker and stuff like that. Axl does his costume change, puts on something nicer for the November Rain song. So he sat down for November Rain, and he busted right out into November Rain, which is also surprising. Normally he does like a little piano solo, or they, have a little jam in between songs or whatever, but he just sat his ass down on his motorcycle seat and just started November Rain. And one thing I'll say about November Rain was I think it was a little difficult to hear Axl singing some of the lines, but the cool thing was the crowd was really picking up the lines and they were really into it and singing along. That was really awesome to hear. So yeah, and then 25, Wichita Lineman, Jimmy Webb cover. This was one that a lot of Guns N' Roses fans, diehards, hate, and they wish would drop from the set list. I think this is like a straight up Axl song. Like he just really likes the song and wants to play it or whatever the fuck. I thought it was Glenn Campbell. I don't fucking know. But for me personally, I like this song. I really do. Like I kind of like hate to admit it because so many people dislike it, and I totally understand their frustrations. Don't get me wrong with like all the covers and shit like that. But I think Axl sounds good on it, and like I catch myself singing it sometimes to myself. I've never heard the original honestly, but if they release this song, if Guns N' Roses released this song on a studio version, I would definitely add it to my library. I think it's a solid cover. Axl sounds nice. 26, Knocking on Heaven's Door, Bob Dylan cover, Alice Cooper's Only Women Bleed intro. Another piss break song. Another one that diehards like to make fun of for how long it is. They really drag this song out. Something I'll mention about some of these last few songs, Axl was having issues with his in-ear monitor. It was obvious. Like, I feel like every song, in between every song, they were fucking with his, like, I guess his mic pack or in-ear monitor pack or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And, like, they just, like, couldn't fix it or something. And he was, like, saying check, check, 1, 2. Which also reminds me, I'm going to go back to Perhaps real quick. Something else I wanted to mention was after Perhaps, he was making a joke about, like, so just for the record, like, I wasn't wrong. I was just saying at the time, perhaps I was wrong. So that was like a, funny moment. He was cracking a lot of jokes, like in the first half of the show, I would say, in a really good mood. Cracking a lot of jokes is another like inside joke for GNR fans. All right, we got 27, Night Train. Man, the guy behind me was so into this fucking song. Like, he was literally doing like fucking aerobics and jumping jacks and shit. Like, which I am not judging. Like, whatever you're comfortable with. He was so happy to hear this one. So yeah, then they do the, Good Fucking Night and everything, and they come out for the encore. And this is something interesting that I wanted to talk about. Back in the day, encores were so legit, and like, artists really like wanted to hear the crowd, want them to come back, and then they would come back and do the encore and everything. But now it's just like almost a tradition. They don't do it at every show, don't get me wrong, but I feel like most of these shows, they just like do the fake, good night, and then come back out within seconds. It's kind of pointless. But they start the encore with Coma, with the Impressions is People Get Ready intro. Now, Coma, if you would have asked me before I ever saw Guns N' Roses live, if I would have ever seen this song live, I would have said no. And now I've seen it at every single show I've been to. And there was a kid further down on the balcony who was so fucking into this song too. He was like, oh my god, he must have had a headache how hard he was like fucking dancing to this song. But yeah, they did Coma, and then they did Patience. I got a video of that one. And then they do Paradise City. And man, Paradise City, I really wish that I wish Slash would have a better tone on this fucking song nowadays. And I wish Axl would blow the whistle at the right part. And also just like fucking, I don't know. The way he sings the song is a little strange. He just makes some weird noises during the verses. I'll just say that. So they end with Paradise City, they do their bow, and then Slash throws some numerous picks out, and then he does his classic handstand, and then the show is over. Just a few other little notes about the show. I want to say Axl. I can't stress this enough. Going to a Guns N' Roses concert and watching Guns N' Roses stuff on YouTube and on videos is just a completely different experience. Hearing him in person, he sounds great. You would never really know that he struggles as much as he does. I just feel like the acoustics of the place that you're at and just the experience and everything, you just can't really tell when he makes mistakes that badly. But when you watch videos, you can hear every mistake he makes, and he doesn't sound nearly as good on the videos compared to in person. I've always said this, I've always felt this, and numerous other people feel the same way. So, yeah. I would highly recommend seeing them in person compared to watching the videos. As for his weight, he definitely seemed a little heavier than he did earlier in the tour. This is the best he's looked in years, has been on this tour. He's wearing like tighter fucking like shirts and shit, and even wearing some throwback shirts like the pink vest or like the black vest and stuff like that. He just really looked in shape like during the European tour, but I'll say on this show it looked like he had gained some of that weight back, unfortunately. He did a lot of costume changes, a lot of shirt changes and stuff. I remember like one of the shirts it said "Who ate all the pussy?" And he's not going to run around like he did like back in the day, of course. He's in his 60s now, but he still like has energy, and he still dances around, and like he still puts on a good show and everything. Slash, great as always, but don't get me wrong, Slash does make mistakes. He definitely does, and he's never perfect. He wore the same outfit the whole night. There were definitely moments where he would jump off like the lyric monitor and like slam on the ground and everything, which was cool, especially at his age too. So that was cool. Duff, I felt like I didn't have too much to say about Duff, honestly. He did like one costume change. He started off with like a Fear and Loathing shirt, and then I think he went to another shirt, and then like at one point in the show he put like a baseball cap on or whatever. And then Richard Fortas, I feel like Richard was so quiet the whole night. Not like his guitar, but like I'm just saying him in general. He just seemed like he was off to the side of the stage and just like not too much interaction, like, and not too much I don't know, not too much like dancing and shit like that. He just seemed really quiet and like to himself and reserved. So then, yeah, you got Dizzy. I feel like Dizzy, hearing some of his piano work on some of the songs, he definitely has like added some new little touches. Like I remember Estranged specifically. Frank, never been a fan of Frank, but he gets the job done. And I feel like Melissa, I like her vocals. I feel like she's definitely higher up in the mix on some songs. Shit, I feel like sometimes she was higher than Axl on some of the songs. And yeah, I really like her vocal work, and There Was a Time too. So she's solid. As for the crowd, it was interesting. This is an American crowd, so you're not going to see them go crazy. They're not going to be like super danceative. I don't know if that's a word either. And singing along like crazy. Like I said, they have their moments and everything, but it's not going to be like a fucking Argentina crowd. But as for the crowd, I would say the balcony was way more into the show than the pit was from my vantage point. It seemed like the balcony was just way more into it. I would also say the audio for the show is the best audio I've ever heard at a Guns N' Roses show. I feel like sometimes at these other shows that I've been to, it's hard to understand like what Axl's saying during the show and stuff like that. The audio is just like not the best. I guess because the acoustics of the venue or whatever. But this venue, with it being up close and personal and like really tight and intimate and everything like that, audio is best I've ever heard at a Guns N' Roses show. You could really hear everything for the most part, except for like when Axl would use like his weak Mickey Mouse at times. It was hard to hear, but I feel like that's just because he's just not projecting. Like he's just a weak Mickey Mouse. One thing I thought was cool during the show also was at one point some fans to my left of me up on the balcony started doing the classic Guns N' Roses chant, and they actually got a lot of people going with them, which was cool because that was like how it was back in the day. You don't really hear that too much anymore. Really throwback. It was honestly the best Guns N' Roses concert I've ever been to. Super memorable. They played 30 songs, which is crazy. They played for 3 hours, and I guess that's one other thing I'll say real quick. I don't think it's necessary for them to play 3 hours. That's a really long show, especially at their age. I just don't want them to like lose years in the future because they're playing so long now. So I feel like they could cut the show shorter a little bit. And also another thing real quick too, since this is my 4th Guns N' Roses show and I'm such a diehard and I know like what they do on a fucking showly basis, sometimes it can be difficult to stay like super engaged all the time. I'm sure if it's your first show or like if you've never seen them before, it'd be much easier to stay engaged from start to finish. But at times, it can get a little, not boring, but just you're not as engaged as like you would be on like, I don't know, other parts of the show and other songs. And something else I'll say too, I feel like the first like half of the show didn't have as many hits. I feel like they put the hits more toward the end, and the crowd was more into it during the end than they were in the beginning. I feel like that's due to like them having more hits near the end. So yeah, I am so happy I went. Super memorable show, great concert. I would definitely recommend going. It was expensive as fuck, but like I said, try that tactic maybe that I mentioned earlier in the video, and let me know if you have any good results with that. Something that was also disappointing was I had to take a lot of pictures because I knew for my YouTube vlog I had to use pictures instead of videos of the actual show, because I'm trying to, you gotta try to avoid copyright strikes when it comes to Guns N' Roses specifically. So that's what I had to do for my vlog video. But if you want to see the actual videos I took of the show, you can check out my Instagram, my X account, or my Facebook. So yeah, that's all I got for you all today. I hope you enjoyed. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.